This is the Barstewards Inquiry.
You're talking absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
In what way?
You were an underachiever in life. I'd saved your bacon one time. You were gone.
You handled that well. I couldn't save you. But you did the right thing.
Well, that's why you don't know anything about racing, John.
I didn't say I do.
Right?
I'm saying that...
What have you contributed to racing? You're one of these take-out merchants. Take out all you can.
And a very warm welcome to the Barstewards Inquiry. It's Sacre Bleu. It's Longchamp weekend. We've got the Sun Chariot at Newmarket. We've wheeled out our best judges this weekend for an action-packed show. We've got Cathryn Fry that's got some exciting national hunt bets in Ireland and over here as well. So this is the show not to miss. John Lang's got a massive priced horse at Redcar. Andy Richmond's raring to go, and Quentin Franks is here again. To literally make this hopefully the best weekend podcast of the racing weekend. Good evening, chaps.
Good evening.
Evening. Good evening. Yes. So without further ado, because it's certainly a busy show, we've not took any questions this week, but as I said, we do value your questions, and make sure you get them in on Sunday for the sermon for me and John, where we'll talk a load of piffle for 45 minutes, and you can make us look stupid. Ask us anything, whatever you want. Bear against a shark in 3 feet of water, whatever you want to do. What will win that battle? I don't know. Right, we'll move on. Newmarket is where we go tomorrow, and it's the Sun Chariot card. It's quite a weird card, this, because since they split all the races up, you've got a Group 1 event backed up by an auction race and a Fillies handicap for ITV. Anyways, we go to the 145, which is the race that kicks us off for the weekend on this show, and it's the 10 furlong Premier Fillies handicap, £50,000 to the winner. And Andrew Balding and Roger Varian are sharing market leaders with Achelois and an Ensemble at around the 11 to 2 mark. So who shall I start with first? I'm coming to you, Andy, first to kick us off on this brilliant weekend show.
We've got loads to get through. I'll keep it short and sweet, which is unusual for me. Go with Rafe or Ralph, first of all. State occasion. It's not a massive race I'd want to get. I will preface the comments by saying I wouldn't want to massively get involved in anything on this Newmarket card. As you say, it is rather strange, but I thought State occasion ran a decent race last time out, fourth on the 4th of September at Ascot, Class 2 handicap, second at 10 under the train driver, Rob Hornby, for those who don't know.
Yes.
To Don't Tell Claire. Just lost a bit of momentum at a crucial stage, kept on well to be second, beaten a length and a quarter. I think the form stacks up quite nicely. Lightly race sort this year, sort of filly I quite like in the autumn. Haven't got too many miles on the clock, and I think she should be going close in this for Rafe or Ralph Beckett State occasion around the 8 to 1 mark, Ali.
Yes, 8.5 to 1 is available, Andy. So that's a good shout. Yep, State occasion. I'll fill in my piece for this race. I've got one of my best bets of the weekend in this State occasion that I do much respect. I do think the improvement will come from the step up in trip as well. I think very well weighted off 84, has major claims, but wouldn't want any rain. Wouldn't want certainly any rain that's forecast tomorrow in the ground by If Raj out of a Royal Applause mare. I'd be worried if the ground got very gluey and sticky for that. So in the race, I'm going for, when we can all say after the race, we've been spencered. Via Sistina of Joe Tweet, available at 16 to 1. Fastnet Rock filly. She was very, very impressive. Sluiced through the mud in May at Goodwood over the 10 furlongs, won by 5.5 wickets with Indian Jim on board, and absolutely just impressed me physically. A real big filly, this. And so where did this end up next time? Well, they went in July to Longchamp for a Group 2. So they were very confident they got a nice filly on their hands here, unless it was just... But they got Buick in the saddle. She disappointed, maybe a bit too soon for this stage of her career. But I find it very interesting. She's back in a handicap off 89 after a break, because, as I say, she is a big filly. And I ain't got a problem with the slightly quicker ground because I'd probably ride good to soft tomorrow, I think, at that time of day, even if the rain does arrive. But nevertheless, I think she's a major chance. Really like her on looks, and she's the one for me with that high draw. And the reason I'm going with high draws tomorrow, I know it stalls on the far side, but there's a very strong south-southeasterly tomorrow, which will be blowing right across them, slightly in the faces. And that obviously on the far side, they're the ones that's going to hit first. So I'm not really a front running man tomorrow. Watch there be 6 or 7 front runners win tomorrow, as per. But that's the angle I'm playing. That I want a bit of cover and just slightly away from that very sharp crosswind, which does pick up throughout the day. Right, Quentin, I'll come to you for your analysis of this.
I like the market leader at Chaos here. I felt she should have won last time out at York. Caught further back than ideal in a steadily run race. I kind of went into that race thinking that good to firm ground wouldn't suit her. So I know Newmarket's just changed to good ground, but it kind of depends when the rain's going to hit tomorrow. So I think it'll be good ground at worst for her. Good to soft would be fine. Soft would be even better, but time shall tell in regards to that. I think she's still well handicapped. She went through the race like the best horse, found trouble in running. And there's more to come. One at the other end of the market that I was interested in, if the rain did come, I think it's about 33-1, is Alpine Minstrel. She shaped fine last time out on a comeback run after 111 days off the track. It was over a mile at Sandown. They went steady. She kind of got outpaced and plodded on, shaping like the run would bring her on. She's got decent form in the mud, so it is a case of if the rain does come, then she's probably worth a small dart as well. So yeah, that would be my take on the race.
Good stuff. So Quentin is a fan of the Andrew Baldwin Achillois, which is 11-2, and Alpine Mistral. If the rain comes, obviously that filly by Gale Force 10 enjoys some juice in the ground and available at 33-1. So keep an eye on that weather, folks. For Quentin's other selection, if the bad weather arrives. John, I'll come to you.
Yeah, quite a nice race this. I have gone with Great Vibes, who was thought good enough to contest the Group 2 race at 2 years. Whatever ailed her and kept her off the track till last month certainly isn't ailing her now. She came back with a hugely eye-catching run at Kempton on the all-weather, over a wholly inadequate 7 furlongs, running on like a nicely warmed engine when she got the ring rushed out of her system. At 2, she was only a neck behind Spirit of Bermuda in a nice race. That one's 89 now. This filly's by showcasing, but out of a Dave Lamy mare, and will relish this extra 3 furlongs compared to the 7 furlong debut this year. Good bet for me, this at 20.
Good analysis there, John. Great Vibes. Second off the trainer change from George Scott, who was struggling to train Ivy up a wall at one point, and Michael Bell has taken control of the reins there. And like you say, very interesting shout. That's one out of the box for John. He likes them. 20-1 available, so that's the 145 covered, the first race. Hope you find the right selection from one of us. Hopefully it's not all pink button stuff. 220 races, the Newmarket Tattersalls October Auction Stakes, £150,000 sales race. Fear By is the clear top rated on official ratings. 104 gets Brian Moore in the saddle, and he's 7-2 favourite. John, I'm coming straight back to you on this.
I'm going with Forden here. I think this, out of all these, I think this still has the potential to be a fairly good horse. I think the rest, you pretty much know what you're getting. I think Fabry's the best of the exposed lot. And for those that are so inclined, can maybe have a saver. But I think Forden won't be too inconvenienced by the drop back in trip. I think it's quite a nice horse in the making. Be ridden handy. I think there's still a little smidgen of value in the price.
Okie dokie. So Foden at 12-1 with Thor Hammer Hansen in the saddle, drawn in stall 9 for John in the auction race. Andy, I'll come to you for your choice here.
That's not my sort of race really, but Fearby is the obvious choice because he's rated 104, and the next best is Ernie's Valentine, who's rated at 91. there's a whole host of them who haven't got a rating yet, and we're down amongst the dead men at 56, and some of them. I suppose if there's a smidgen of value here somewhere and a couple that might be worth playing, bearing in mind your comments about the draw, Lee, and I'd probably want to be drawn higher rather than lower here. So Fearby's fared quite well, but I thought Ernie's Valentine, who's the next best in the terms of the official ratings, he's won his last two. Interesting. I mean, they're obviously going to have a go for a big pot here. Most of his form is on, like you say, both his wins, the recent wins are on the all weather, but he did win on the turf first time out, so I'd certainly give him a chance. And the other one I thought was interesting, who might not have been finished improving yet, is Tatsumaki. Sounds like the new Arsenal right back, but he's unbeaten so far. I'd give him a chance. To be honest with you, they'd be a couple of small, fun throwaway bets in a race where, I'm quite happy to watch, really. But I thought if there was a little bit of value or perceived value, it would be Tatsumaki and Ernie's Valentine from the draws that they've got under a couple of decent pilots. Neil Callan, who's back, nice to see back in this country, and William Buick, who should be riding for his life at the moment.
And I concur with you on both horses, really, that those were my two choices against Fearby. I'm not saying, I wouldn't want to be with Fearby with it's obvious unofficial ratings. But I just think Ernie's Valentine, for similar reasons to you and Tatsumaki, but Ernie's Valentine caught my eye at Chelmsford because it's very difficult to come from off the pace over the 6 there. And the way he did that was very impressive. And I thought, I think that's a horse going forwards, and I think will be suited by being dropped out off a strong pace and coming late from shelter from the wind, possibly. So Ernie's Valentine is probably my choice for the race at 12-1 without being overconfident. Quentin, I'm going to come to you for your choice.
Havana, the one by Havana Gold, Fearby's the one to beat, like John said. Official ratings well clear, rock solid form, but he's kind of exposed now. I've kind of gone left field with one a bit, and a really unexposed one in the shape of Stubblefield. Really poor time on debut, but it was down to a steady pace. They crawled and quickened. She was green under pressure. Stayed on, was the moral winner on the day when you factor in sectionals. The yard, Simon Pearce's yard, wouldn't be a regular source of debut winners, so you would expect her to come on fitness-wise for it. I thought the interesting thing was she's by a day sire with a notoriously poor record on good to firm ground. I think it's like 4 from 123, circa 3.3% strike rate, and a 0.25 actual over expected. So any rain that comes, she should appreciate that. One of the siblings was a heavy ground winner as well. I doubt we'll get to that stage, like soft, heavy ground, but any dig in the ground will benefit her. 4th and 5th have come out the race and won since, and she looks a shade overpriced at, I think she's about 14-1.
14-1, really interesting call, and you raised my attention there because the winner Kanjar is very highly regarded by the Haggers camp, and they thought obviously the ground beat Kanjar at Goodwood, and they actually thought that the horse was a good thing at Ascot, a real good thing. They couldn't have it beat. The shirt couldn't have it beat, and yet Stubblefield give it the fright of its life. Albeit getting a bit of weight, but nevertheless, it was still a good performance. Good shout, 14. So hope you like the selections there. We move on to the 255 race, which is the Kingdom of Bahrain Sun Chariot Group 1. A really good renewal, to be fair. I wouldn't say it's the possibly the classiest renewal I've ever seen, but in terms of real quality fillies. But we've got probably the best of. Or some of the best of the 3-year-old. Snow Lantern heads the market at 5-2. Mother Earth, Saffron Beach, all Group 1 form, mixed in with a couple of older types that are in good form, like Lavender's Blue. Interesting race, this. Quentin, I'm going to bounce straight back to you on the Sun Chariot.
I thought it was a horrible race. I kind of went backwards and forwards and tried to find an angle into it, and kind of came to the conclusion that the market was about right. No Speak Alexander had the runner things last time out. Mother Earth should have won that race. She was hampered on multiple occasions. Champs-Élysées, she got tightened up for room. she may be of some sort of interest. I think you had mentioned it earlier in the year. The concerning thing with Snow Lantern was Richard Hannon's comments about the Rowley Mile not suiting her and her becoming unbalanced. That's why she didn't run in the novice there or go to the Guineas. I think she's the right favourite. I think she's the one to beat, but them comments are just sitting there in the back of my mind and kind of put me off her. So I no bet, but she's the one to beat.
Very, very fair shout, that, Quentin. Yeah, same reasons for me. I was sort of all over Snow Lantern, in terms of a level of form, the way the race is probably going to be ridden, the fact that she's going to be held up. I just like that call at Newmarket tomorrow. I think it'd be a decent pace in the race. I just think she'd get the run of the race. But like you say, that's got to be in the back of anyone's mind that Richard Hannon did not want to run in the Guineas with this filly, but then turns up in the July course and then wins the Falmouth, which is probably not as, I agree, it's not as certainly like the dip on the Rowley's probably more of a test than the July course, but it's still the same reason. I don't know, but it's one of them. It's a Gin and Johnny Pate race for me. John, come to you on the Sun Chariot.
I think it's a bit of a match, to be honest. I think Mother Earth's the danger to Snow Lantern, and Mother Earth probably has a little bit more value in it because she's won there. And I thought Snow Lantern was a little bit dead last time. And way back in April, Hannon was saying, she's always going to want further than a mile, this one. And here we are in frigging October, and he's still running a mile. So he's a bit of a twat as well, isn't he? So.
Hannon the
Twat. I'll go with Mother Earth.
Yeah, Mother Earth for John, 100 to 30. Hannon the Twat to run second to Mother Earth for being a twat. On that note, we'll come to Andy. Thoughts here?
What, the note of being a twat? Oh, that's right.
Hannon the Twat.
Yeah. This has been an all-age race since 1974. But if you look over the past 4 decades, the elders actually win 28-12, but I can't really see them adding to their score this time around. I think the 3-year-olds really dominate, and there are the obvious two, aren't they? Snow Lantern and Mother Earth. I think I agree with John. I think it probably boils down to being pretty much of a match for me. I tend to favour Mother Earth. O'Brien's won this 3 times before, and the thing that sort of tilts it in its favour, tilts it in Mother Earth's favour, is that 8 of the last 11 winners have won a race over the Rowley Mile, and of course Mother Earth has done that. Wasn't beaten far in the Falmouth by Snow Lantern when there's half a length in it. That race has worked out really well. She then won the Prix Rothschild. She was an unlucky 3rd in the Matron, where she should have probably beaten No Speak Alexander. I think I'd probably favour her. If there's one that's been a little bit forgotten, it would actually be Saffron Beach, who didn't stay in the Oaks, scoped badly out of the Falmouth, and then went off at a monster price when winning Atalanta Stakes, because she should have been about, 2-1 on a Guineas running. The winners have come from that Sandown lifted race, but that was when this was a 10 furlong Group 2. So might not be as relevant now, but if you judge her on her course and distance running the Guineas, if you wanted a saver, I'd be more inclined to go Mother Earth as the main play and save on Saffron Beach. And that almost becomes, I know there's a lot of other horses in the race, but it almost becomes a sort of pseudo lay of Snow Lantern, who, like you boys, I just feel a little bit doubtful about, if they haven't run it, they didn't want to run her there before, have they almost been forced into running her here now?
Essentially.
Not a race I'd want to play majorly in, but there are a few thoughts that you could cobble together, and at the prices, I'd favour Mother Earth with a small saver on Saffron Beach.
Yeah, I think I'd favour Tarquin's Bathtub Gin. 57%, with a slice of liver pate, just on a nice piece of Marks and Spencer's crusty loaf, just as they're racing. That'll be my level of interest, but I hope that's covered the Sun Chariot for us. I like Hannon's pseudonym now. I think that's a good one. That one, thanks to John. Right, we're going to just go something different now. We're going to bring Cathryn Fry into the fold because poor Cathryn's just been listening to us idiots waffle on about flat racing when the jump racing is starting to get into swing. And Gowran Park tomorrow, Cathryn?
Yeah, it's it now. Shots fired, isn't it? Yeah. This is it. Some cracking jumping action this weekend, both Saturday and Sunday. So take it. I have got a fancy on the flat, but no surprise it comes in a apprentice handicap at Killarney. Stuff of dreams for me, you know.
Brilliant. Right, well, I know you've got like 4 real nice picks.
About 5 for you now.
Five. Right, yeah, 5 then. Right. So where do you want to start us with your selections?
We'll look at the champion chase at Gowran, the PwC champion chase. As a fantastic race for this time of year. Does always seem to get a good few worthy contenders stepping forward. You've got the Arkle and Queen Mother winner, Put the Kettle On. I think you know how much I love this mare. She's so tough. She's brilliant. I know she's won right-handed, but I often wonder, is she not as comfortable right-handed as left-handed? Certainly, she in her last start of last season, she got very fizzed up at Sandown, and I think something put her off at the first. She jumped left, and after that, the jumping let her down, which is unbelievable when you sort of see how well she jumps Cheltenham. It's obviously notoriously hard to jump. She does head the market at around 5-2. Obviously, I'll be shouting for her. Not sure if this is a betting race for me, but if I do have a bet, I think that there is a horse lurking further down the prices. If the rain comes, and I really hope it does, because this would be his sort of festival, really. The horse I'm talking about, he's not a Grade 1 Spring Festival horse, but he's very nearly there. I'm talking about Castle Grace Paddy. Absolutely loves the mud. He's effective at 2 miles, 2 mile 4. So this race is over 2 mile 4. And I think this is going to be her biggest danger if the rain comes. I say that, you know, something like this is going to be his champion chase. So I'm just going to be watching the weather very carefully at Gowran. And if there is an absolute deluge, I might throw a bit on a Castle Grace Paddy. Other than that, I'd absolutely love to see Put the Kettle On win. But we know, obviously, this is not going to be her main target. Her main target goes to regaining her crown in March. But yeah, do look at Castle Grace Paddy if the rains come.
Very interesting shout. Second to Easy Game in the Devonish. Yeah. Only just got beat 3/4 of a length.
And he has been at Plutar.
Yes.
So, yeah, and he's a good horse. He's just not quite there at the Spring Festival level.
And wants juice in the ground. So we need to do the rain dance for Castle Grace Paddy. If the rain comes, listeners, is a very viable shout at double figure prices. Okay, Cathryn, where we're going next?
Oh, we'll pop down to Killarney. 3:45 apprentice handicap. You know how much I love these races. They're just so dirty. It's unbelievable. Horse called Sea Sessions. Stable and jockey going well at present. 3-year-old filly. She's still improving. She's basically dropped £2 from being 4th at Navan. I don't really get that, because that was like 1 mile 6, which I think might be stretching her a little bit at this stage. Still rated 64. I think she's definitely improved from the step up in trip in the last 3 starts, and I think there's a little bit more room for improvement there. She's won over 1 mile 2, but 1 mile 3, which I think is within her range. And I really fancy her tomorrow. So
isn't that a horse to follow?
Yes, I was just about to say this is one of my horses to follow for the season. Not at a high level or anything like that, but
absolutely, yeah.
I'm excited you like this. You've got me extremely.
Really, she just stood out like a beacon when I looked at the card.
She's by territories, and territories have got an absolutely ridiculous strike rate. so far on soft ground, soft and heavy ground.
Yeah.
Now it's yielding to soft. I'd
Yes.
imagine it'll probably soften up come post time there even more. She's last 2 starts. You can see the owner wants to sell because obviously they ran it in a claimer at Fairy House,
Yes, which she won.
No one claimed, and they probably just want one. But she's got more to come because
definitely more to come,
I really think that this ground and this trip is perfect for her. So I'm quite excited for this bet tomorrow, Cathryn. So that's a really good choice. Everything is in its favour. C Sessions, Mikey Shee on board 15-2. Avail yourself for some of that.
Absolutely.
Good second choice.
Yeah. So we'll pop back to this country. We'll go to Fontwell tomorrow. See one of my horses that I've been waiting to run for a while. Mr. One More, Harry Fry, Kevin Brogan on board. I think obviously this horse has had a lot of problems, along with him being strangled once or twice. But this looks a likely place for him to pop up, and I've been waiting to see where they place him. So really, just on that, the fact that I've had him floating around my notes for so long, I think he's in the 5:10 at Fontwell tomorrow. Looking at Sunday, I know obviously Sunday is all about the Arc, and I appreciate that. But for jumping fans, if you're looking to sort of start your National Hunt notebook, if you sort of write notes and stuff, Sunday is a brilliant place to start. You got brilliant jumping action at Killarney, Kelso, Tipperary, and Uttoxeter. Very, very interesting at Kelso. In the Simply Ned, I think we've got the clearest indication that John Joe O'Neill Jr. is set to be JP McManus's number 1 this season in England. Of course, Mark Walsh number 1 in Ireland. That he takes them out on Ballyosheen in the Simply Ned for good old Edna Bolger. But I think that is a clear indication of things to come, really. Yes, reading between those lines in the Simply Ned, but I do have a selection in the Joe Mack hurdle at Tipperary, the opening race on the Sunday. There's a few in here that have won at the summer festivals, and my selection is one of those. Annie G for the lovely Henry de Bromhead, listed race winner at Galway. She can hit 1 or 2 along the way, but I think she's a very, very, very smart mare, and she's actually favourite. I know you were saying, Lee, before that if I ever took a favourite, you'd back her. So yeah, she is favourite. She's around 2-1 at the moment, but I think she's very smart. So that would be my my selection in the Joe Mack, and a little one for you. This is quite interesting, and thank Christ we have James Bowen on board and not Nico. He rides another horse in the race, but very interesting. The Bomber Liston has had a wind up, and he runs in the main hurdle, the last at Uttoxeter on Sunday. James Bowen on board, benefit of the wind up. Has always looked like he had the engine, and hopefully now they've done something about his wind. But yes, thank the Lord for James Bowen and not Nico de Bonneville. So that there endeth my Friday night sermon.
Absolutely outstanding. Yeah, I applaud you there. That's some really good choices, and I'm doubly excited now. I don't think I've ever known you tip me a 2-1 shot in a year. So
I know, yeah.
Like Annie G, if you're listening to this. This is the power nap. It's pressure on Fryer. It's big pressure, but it's 2-1, and I'd back anything that Fry says to me under 4. If Fry says anything to me under 4-1, and so you just back it blind because Fry loves a big price. So the fact that she's still keen on this says it all. So great, Cathryn. It's been an absolute pleasure. To have you back on the show, and obviously Cathryn will be playing a massive part this winter in the Barstewards via the website, which is currently being built. Articles will be written on there, and also Cathryn will be partaking in much more pods this winter as the National Hunt season gets into full swing. So brilliant, Cathryn. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
So we move on to our next part of the show, which is covering Ascot tomorrow, and we've got 4 races on the telebox, and we go to the Oakman Group Rous Stakes over 5 furlongs tomorrow. And a favourite of mine, Hurricane Ivor, did me a massive favour last time. Did Andy Richmond a big favour the time before? His favourite 100-30 for the shagging shirt. Andy, I'm going to come to you first on this.
Well, let's stay with the shagger. because I think Hurricane Ivor. Let's have him to complete the hat trick. I mean, it's not an easy race, but this race is actually, if you look at the race that Hurricane Ivor won before, it's actually been a very, very good guide to this race. In fact, it's produced the winner of this race about 8 or 9 times now. The one thing I'd say about Hurricane Ivor is if you are playing in running, and you can find some pictures which are not about 25 seconds behind on the Sky Sports racing ones are, or maybe you just like to play blind and stick something in. I would say that in both his wins, and this is my sort of particular forte, more on the, as people who know me well, more over the jumps than anything. It's, I concentrate on run styles and how horses run, etc., etc. I would say that Hurricane Ivor, his current price, I probably wouldn't be backing, but I would like to back him in running because he does fine for pressure. He hit a high of 20 when he won the Portland. If you go and watch the race, probably watch it halfway, you'd probably start thinking he ain't going to win this. Of course, he obviously does. And then the Group 3 won last time out of Newbury. Even at halfway, I'm thinking, if I didn't know what he picked up out of last time out, I wouldn't be too keen on this. And he hit 18 as a high there. So he probably needs a little bit of a pace collapse. I think he's a better horse over 6 furlongs. But if I am going to back him tomorrow, if I think they've gone off quick enough, and I have got up-to-date pictures, I'd probably rather back him at halfway than I would at the current prices. But I do think he's a very, very good horse, and he's going to be a brilliant sprinter next year.
Good stuff, Andy. And I think, Andy, you will get that pace collapse because you've got King of Stars. With D'Souza on blast off, you've got significantly, as long as he doesn't miss the break and pings, that he'll go blast off, Dakota Gold, etc. I think you will get that lovely pace.
You touch on an important point there, Lee, and it's one that drives me absolutely mad when I see some people. I'm not going to name anyone, but they put up front runners and things like that, and they never look at the overall pattern of a race. And there might be 4 other front runners in the race, and they never take the whole picture into account. And there's a lot of people doing that on the net and on the web, and they don't take out, and it annoys me, they don't look at the whole gamut of how a race could be run, if you could get a pace collapse, if there's a contested pace. It's, this horse has traded at this price that many times. It'll do that again. Now, I'm not going to say that Hurricane Ivor is going to, pick up out of that, but the trait would say that. But I don't like that sort of analysis. You've got to take the whole picture into account, and it's comforting that you say that. And I'd already sort of had a look myself that there could well be a pace collapse in this tomorrow. Doesn't mean that there is going to be, because as we horse racing isn't an exact science. But I think he's probably got the race set up quite nicely for him, and that you would be disappointed if he didn't pick up out of off that pace tomorrow.
Precisely. I'm with you on the Ivor. John Lane.
Yeah, I can't add a lot to that, really. I think Hurricane Ivor's in good form. Looks sure to keep putting up good efforts between now and the end of the season. He'll be in pattern class soon. I think Kate Busy will run well over this course and distance. Probably the one to chase him home. But I couldn't put anybody off Hurricane Ivor.
Okie dokie. Quentin?
I think the market's got it wrong, and I take on board what Andy said about the pace of the race. I think Dakota Gold should be favourite here. It's a case of just ground, and it's not had its ground all season. Beverly last time in the Bullet, it was rattling fast. I think Time said it was kind of on the firm side, but he went like there's still life in him. And I've got doubts about Hurricane Ivor on it being. I think it will be heavy come what time 2:05. I generally think the ground will be heavy by then. Doubts about the Clive Cox horse. I don't particularly think they'll run if it turns up soft, heavy, and that sort of thing. Anyway, back to Dakota Gold. He won it in 2019 when it was here. He won it last year at Nottingham. He's underfoots his thing. He just strung races together last season when getting them conditions. He'll have soup-like conditions, and I generally think he's one of the only ones that will really handle it.
Interesting. That's very bullish, Quentin. Very bullish there. I like it when people make a very opinionated stance, and Quentin makes a point about the ground there. Obviously, this horse thrived for the ground last back end. Really did hit a rich vein of form.
He won on this card last year, Lee, because he won the Bengough Stakes last year over 6 months.
Was it Nottingham last year?
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, Nottingham last year.
God knows
same race. Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's a really good shout from Quentin there. So sometimes it's great when you have when we all come together. We don't know what we're tipping. Sometimes your choice is usurped by another contributor because you actually think, do you know what? Sometimes I've left the pod even thinking, I'd rather go with that opinion than my own. Sometimes, sometimes somebody makes a better point of view, and maybe that's the case here. Dakota Gold listeners, what do you think to that one? That's Quentin's choice in the 205. We move on to the 240. It's the 12 furlongs Cumberland Lodge. I like this race because it brings back a lot of good memories. I backed to Ascot many moons ago. I won a very large bet on Kind Regards, trained by the Kilt, to win this race. She absolutely bolted up in this. So I've got fond memories of this race, and I always try and like to back the winner. I felt. Just listening to what Quentin said, he thinks the ground will be very testing come this sort of time tomorrow. So I'm bearing that in mind. That brings Quickthorn into the equation. I know John was very impressed with Title last time out at Doncaster. That sort of took John's eye because he kind of tweeted last time. John, if I'm right, you said why didn't they just chance this in the Ledger?
Yes. It was a bit of a mystery to me. I think they could have gone there with that.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on the Cumberland Lodge?
Well, I think this is and probably seeing as how they didn't go to the Ledger, I think it's probably an ideal sort of race for Title, really. I don't particularly fancy a Lineac. The yard hasn't really progressed an older one in the last 3 years. Sangarius, highest ground, my Frankel, they were well expected to find 10 pound or stone this year. None of them made any gains at all. Been desperate with the older ones. Hookham's getting to the point of training off. This is his 7th run of the year. I think the high clear house is going to be one to beat, really.
Yeah. So Title for John around the 7-2 mark. David Egan in the saddle. Quentin, coming to you for the Cumberland Lodge.
I'm in the camp of being against Hookham here. Ground, training off. He really should have kicked Hamish into touch at Kempton and didn't. It was a toss-up between Title and Quickthorn. Just slightly favoured Quickthorn. Tactically, I feel he's versatile. When he won over course and distance in the Duke of Edinburgh, he pretty much sat handy and just ground them out. The only, the reason it swayed me away from Title, I'm still not fully convinced about him. I think I said on the Doncaster podcast just about his willingness for it. But that was on fast ground. He got soft conditions at Doncaster and the head carriage wasn't as bad as it was. He looked a bit more comfortable, but I'd just like to see him do it and put it in when he has to battle for it. The Doncaster race was soft enough. Time was modest enough. So I just want to see him do it. He's obviously got obvious upside, but quick form for me ahead of him. The rest look much of a muchness.
Okay, yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement with both of you there. I think it's a fascinating race. I think the softer it gets, the more likely I'm to back Quickthorn. If we really see the mud flying and the time's really slow, then Quickthorn is going to be on my radar, I think, come post time. But that's something that we've got the luxury of waiting and seeing the elements, before we go in. So yeah, good stuff. Andy, any thoughts from you here?
I think I'd be in the Quickthorn camp. I wasn't particularly impressed with Hookham's finishing effort last time out on the all-weather. Title, again, I agree with Quentin. I'd just like to see him put it in. I didn't like the head carriage, particularly at Doncaster. And if at the current prices, those two take out 50% of the market. And I think I'd probably rather be with Quickthorn. Obviously, a course and distance winner, won the Duke of Edinburgh. the second in the Ebor reads particularly well now to Sonny Boy Liston, who's obviously gone on and won the Group 1 Irish St Leger. He won a small field conditions race at Salisbury last time out, although he blew the start. It didn't really matter. But I just think on the balance of probabilities, I'd rather be with him at the prices. It's actually been a little bit of money for him since I wrote those notes, and he seems to be edging in nearer and nearer Quick Thought, nearer and nearer Title, and probably nearer Hookham. And as I say, if we did get a real deluge, it's not really forecast. It's rain forecast there in the morning, although, as we know, it doesn't take a lot of rain to turn most courses to slop these days. Then I'd probably just be with Quick Thought. Not massively, but I think on the balance of probabilities, I'd be with Quick Thought.
Agreed. So we're kind of all on a similar hymn sheet there. We all thought Hookham was disappointing with the finishing effort at Kempton. The word pig was branded around in my social circles. Poor Hookham. He's won 3 this year, and he absolutely sent Blogger spiraling downwards. How's that got beat? It was Blogger's tweet after Hookham.
That's because he put it up. That's why.
Him and the Stallions stiffened it. So there we go. Yeah, I think we're more or less concurring thereabouts there. We move to the 315, which is the John Guest Racing Bengough Stakes. So it's a Group 3 affair, and it's decent prize money from Ascot tomorrow. I like this. 80,000 guaranteed, 45,000 for a Group 3 winner, kind of matching France. Glen Shiel is 7-2 market leader, faces a huge class drop, an enormous class drop from what he's had to contend with, Deauville, etc. Top Group 1s. That's an interesting class dropper. No Holly in the saddle. Paul Rennan takes over. 7-2 favourite. Quentin, I'm bouncing straight to you on this.
I'm going to take a flyer on one here. I'm hoping the ground will be, as mentioned, soft, heavy, just bottomless. I just want soup-like conditions for this. It's further into the afternoon, so more likely to get them according to what the forecast I'm using, so hopefully that's right. I quite like Lullaby Moon. I think it's 33-1, 25-1, I can see now. I didn't think she trained on earlier in the season. She's quite a small filly. But she showed signs of life back at 7 furlongs at Goodwood. She ended up poorly positioned in a race where it paid to be handy. And kept on well. It was over 7 furlongs. She drops back to 6 here. She's gone from Rafe Ralph in the Ammo Racing split to Joe Sweet. I just kind of like the angle that there's a shed load of pace on here. Like there's bundles of it. Punchbowl Fly will blast off. Diligent Harry, Glen Shield. There just looks to be lots of pace on. There's a few in the market that are shorter than her that I don't particularly like on the ground. The Dream, Tabdeed, Bushala. I think she should be a bit shorter. If they do go hard, stamina will be brought into play, hopefully, and she can pick up the pieces from what may be a favourable high draw. I'll probably play her in the place markets as well.
33-1, double carpet, 33-1 from Quentin there. Lullaby Moon, good shout. We like big prices on this show, and certainly there was Sign of Life last time behind Last Empire, a Goodwood in the Oak Tree. Interesting choice indeed. Out the box there, left field. Andy, coming to you.
Yeah, 33-1. Gary Wiltshire. If anybody hasn't, just as an aside, lovely fella Gary. If anyone hasn't seen the piece with him on Luck on Sunday, it's well worth a watch because that was about 37 minutes of TV.
Fantastic.
Could have been an hour and 37 minutes, could have been 2 hours and 37 minutes, and it would have still been interesting. If you haven't seen it, go and take a look because it's absolutely brilliant with Gazza on there. And if anyone hasn't read his book as well, Giving a Little Back, I think it's called. It is really a good book to read. I'm not sure that's the right title, but I'm sure you can find it anyhow.
Andy, just to interrupt you, I mean, didn't you find him refreshingly honest?
I've known Gary for years, and he's absolutely, just what what old, well, no, probably new school and probably, but very old school bookmaker from sort of the background I came from as well. And I just refreshingly honest and brilliant. I mean, no, it's lovely to see people like that, bouncing back, still doing well, and it was just great TV. I've watched it twice. It was that good. I've watched it twice.
It's rare I endorse anything on Barstewards, in terms of like other people's.
Apart from Gin.
Apart from Gin, but it literally was great TV. Credit to Nick Luck, he let him flow. The sign of obviously a class interviewer, and it was just I will watch that again like you a second time. Anyway, back to the 315. Sorry,
back to the Bengough stage before we get. Glenn Shield is a massive class dropper, isn't he? Yeah, he's lost 4 races in Group 1, so he should be. Think he's having a day out here, really. But I think there's certainly one improver in this, and a horse I really do like, Great Ambassador. I was gutted to see him get beaten in the Air Gold Cup by Bielsa, who reopposes. This time they won't be the width of the track apart. I did think, actually, it's hard to tell, but I actually did think Great Ambassador might have actually got to the front at one stage. But they certainly knew that the stand side rail, you only had to look at the betting on Betfair to know that there was a plan hatching here, because that price never ever moved, and he got back really late on as well. It's not the first time you've seen the draw flip in the Air Gold Cup, because I remember Fonthill Road winning up the far side when everything won on the near side, so always be careful of that. But I do think Great Ambassador is a horse I do like. He was third in the Stewards Cup on bad ground, and rather like Hurricane Ivor, he's a sprinter I've followed throughout the year, really, and I do think he's, I actually think he probably stays a little bit further as well. I'd like to see him drawn a little bit higher, but I do hope he deserves to win a good race like this, and I do think he's a decent animal. I'm also interested in what to make of Diligent Harry, because it's just his second turf start. It might go too soft for him. Then he got beaten the next second last time out. I think there's a few fascinating horses in this, but I definitely want to be with Great Ambassador. I think he's a really nice horse. I think he'll be an even better horse next year, and I can see him clashing with Hurricane Ivor at group level, certainly next year.
Okay, so we've got Lullaby Moon for Quentin at 33s. We've got Great Ambassador at 4s for Andy. Like you said, I was as sick as you, Andy, in the Air Gold Cup. John wasn't there, and I'm coming to John now, because John won plenty on Bielsa right up that stands rail, didn't you, John?
He must be one of those late backers on Betfair
then. John was in Clover, wasn't you?
I think I just got lucky.
You didn't? No. Not having that.
I quite like Great Ambassador here. I don't think there's a lot I can add to what's already been said, other than I think this is a very interesting choice of comeback race for the shirt horse, Busala. I think any money of this for that might be significant. And if the ground deteriorates and he takes the horse out and doesn't bother giving it a spin up, I think you can take it on board that he thinks a bit about it and stick it in your tracker.
Interesting. I like things like that. So John has noticed Busala off an absence, first time gelded for the shirt as well, possibly at a big price, but agrees with Andy on Great Ambassador. I'm going to be with Glenn Shield on the class drop. It's too big a class drop for me to ignore at this price. If this had been put in sort of 2 to 1, 9 to 4, I would have understood. It's 7 to 2 currently available, and to me, I think that's worth chancing the arm over a track. It's very effective over. Conditions are fine, and as I said, this is a different level altogether than what he's been contesting this season. So we move on now to the final race at Ascot, which is the 350. It's the 7 furlongs Equine Productions Challenge Cup Heritage Handicap. What was this called before? Any ideas?
No.
I mean, this is what I don't like, right? Because it's like they basically changed the name. I like traditions, and I think this is like really terrible. I feel like we always have to mention the name, but
wasn't all this, was it?
Not sure. I don't like the BHA for this, because this is one thing the BHA can control, and the BHA should always put the original race title, no matter who's sponsoring it. I hated it when they even one year took the Stewards Cup off the Stewards Cup, the 32 Red Cup it was. I was outraged. I was bouncing around the room in outrage. How can you do that to a Stewards Cup, 32 Red Cup? It's a disgrace. And the BHA need to sort this out. Anyway, that's my rant. 350. I'm going to start the race off because this is my joint sort of best bet of the weekend. I did like Frank Spencer in the 145, as you know, and I'm very keen on one here. Tom Fry of Rafe and Ralph at around the 16-1 mark. I think it's a massive price on the premise that this is his ground. Obviously, the softer the better. Heavy, that's fine. Whatever. And if you look last back end, that's where he found his form, and he's been left nice and fresh. He's been kept away from the fast ground. Obviously, there's no point running him on fast ground. He's off 103, which you wouldn't say he's thrown in, but not many races of this type. You're not dealing with thrown in types, so I'm not really bothered about that. It's the fact there's no pace in the race. No, zero, none, naught, nil, niche, nada. Stall 11, Richard Kingscote. He's quite a sensible jockey. It's an easy ride, this. Bounce out, sit handy, lead, do whatever you need to do. Has to go close for me, because most of these horses are all like take back merchants. So I think Tom Fry will run very big at a very big 16-1 each way. A pleasure. That's my joint best bet of the weekend, folks. I'll move on to you, Andy, for your choice on this.
We're going to be the same, because I already thought Tom Fry had a pretty good chance. I was hedging towards Al Rufer, but the thing that slightly put me off, and it comes back to my earlier comments about looking at the pace in races, and you've already touched on this, Lee, that there is absolutely zero pace in this, isn't there?
No.
There must be, half the field must be confirmed, and I do mean confirmed, hold-up performers.
Drop out, yeah.
And we're down to what? We're down to 17 runners now, because documenting is a non-runner. So if anybody is listening to this tonight, if those pesky bookmakers haven't taken him out and try and get your Rule 4, although it probably wasn't a price you would have got one on, but just believe in that. And if others do come out, one of my other moans at the moment, you're on about race names, Lee. My other one is, why can't Timeform and the Racing Post adjust the draw for non-runners? Makes a total farce of the form book.
Yeah, that's a very, very good shout.
You, as I know, use the excellent Pro Form, and the draw becomes adjusted on there. So why can't those two organisations the same use an adjusted draw? Because it otherwise makes it look a complete and utter farce sometimes. So anyhow,
run by idiots.
That's by the by. Since the field was restricted to these, you have generally wanted to be a higher draw. I think that's where I'm coming from. And I did like, I appreciate the claims of Aldari and Aratus in this, but they're drawn 1 and 2, and that slightly put me off them. Al Rufer I like, but just the lack of pace in the race just put me off, and that put me on to Tom Fry. And probably another hold-up horse who's drawn high in Ascension as well. I'll probably just have a go at the 3, to be honest with you, at the prices. It's one of those bit of a hit and hope races, but I appreciate where you're coming from with Tom Fry. So I do think he has actually got a chance here. He's got some decent form earlier on. It probably the weight reversal, which is only £1, probably isn't enough for him to reverse the form with River Nymph, but I think he's a little bit better drawn. He might get his ground a little bit better here. Al Rufer needs the thing that slightly puts me off him. He needs a pace to settle off, and will he get any pace here? He actually bypassed the Cambridgeshire to run in this, so you got to think that the Slim and Johnny Gosden might have a little bit of a plan about this one. So I'd certainly put him on the shortlist. And I thought Ascension has been entered some time. I thought he travelled. The John Smiths was one race he travelled well into, but I thought the 10 furlongs probably just stretched him a little bit there. and he's another one who needs a bit of easing ground. So if we get Quentin's Cloudburst, we might be on the right side. So, in order, I'd go with Tom Fry and a couple of small savers on Ascension and Al Rufa.
Make no mistake, listeners, if Tom Fry wins, I'm going round on my space hopper around the room. Andy's on his hobby horse, drinking champagne through a straw, running round the room. Believe me, this will happen. John, I'm coming to you on this.
I respect the chance of Tom Fry very much. The other one that I would mention here would be Al Ruffer. Should definitely have won last time. Absolutely disgusting, brain-dead effort from in the south. I mean, nothing to do with the fact I backed him that day, obviously, but I was spitting more than if I'd gone down on Bella Emberg. Matt Harley today, so I mean they're not really being the kindest to this house with the jockey bookings, have they? The pace puts me off backing him tomorrow, so I'd probably it's a city out, get the pace out and let the dog in job.
Yeah, Quentin. So Al Rufa for John, if anything.
I had a small play on Aldari earlier in the week. I'm pretty sure he's a group horse on soft ground, but he's now drawn to. You go through the race, as you guys have said, there's no pace, which is a concern. I think he'll be the best of these, but Tom Fry for me as well. Nose on the ground, no pace in the race. Everything just looks there for a perfect run. Like the setup of the race just looks. It looks ideal for it, doesn't it? Like it's one of them ones you can even get out in running. He's going to lead the pack, and it's like you've got options there.
Yeah,
that's the way I see it.
It's got a straight single figures, Quentin. Yeah, you're right. I literally has, and as long as it pings the lids, that's it. It's there's nothing else that's going to change its running style, I don't think, to a degree to worry about. Aldari is interesting by territories as well. I love the ground angle for that. You like that as well. So I mean, 7-1, that's interesting for the shirt with Indian Jim on board. Right, so that clarifies our selections for the Saturday Telly races, barring, of course, we can't forget the Lurkle, John Redcar for the final one. This is the 2-year-old trophy.
I thought you'd been going to Quentin first on this one, actually.
Quentin's absolutely. No one's got anything on this. John, I want you on this because you've got a big price bet in this. I want you.
I have, and I've been pretty active as regards this race most of the week. I've had a fairly good look at it. I think it's a little bit of a substandard 2-year-old trophy this year. Mojo Maker ran okay at York, but the overall feeling was he's hit his ceiling, I felt. Mott and the Messer really put spots on it last time when at Ripon. If that hadn't happened, you'd have that one right in the mix, really, I'm just a bit worried there's no real excuse for him put forward. Now, the farm horses generally come to the fore here, but we have had the odd one that's come here off maiden runs, usually winning ones, admittedly, and they seem to be plopping, well treated, And I thought there was one or two in here that might have had aspirations towards listed class in time, and as a result might be well treated. And the one that the Golden Pen has landed on is Poetical Peace of Trotter Nichols's. This was nicely backed on debut at Haydock, and I had a good look at this pre-race because I noticed it was significantly short in the betting, and I thought the horse really looked the part. Way too great to go self-justice in the race, but looked as though it would tighten up considerably for a run as well. Showed me enough early there to think the horse could acquit itself really, really well in this sort of grade next time up off this weight. And that one got the nod ahead of Atomize from Charlie Fellows, I also thought could run well. I think that's drawn a little bit on the high side. So I've given Duran his pep talk last night, telling me he's not riding a forlorn no-hoper. And he's accepted that with good grace. And I expect him to follow my instructions tomorrow.
Poetical play. What? How does he pronounce it? Poetical piece? Poetical
piece, yeah.
Poetical piece. Interestingly named horse. John has come up with a big bet, and I know for a fact he snaffled the 66ers. He's dirty like that. He did it the other day. He was that excited. So he's left you with 33s. That's John. You know, you get no change out of John. So poetical piece for John is a really nice big price nap there in the 2-year-old trophy at his Lurkle. Right, I'm coming to... Well, before I come to... I've got no selection in this, but what I will say is the last 2 meetings at Redcar have played a significant low draw bias, where we're looking at 12 of the last 13 races run on the straight course have been drawn 7 or less. We know that Redcar can be a bit of a bias hole for low numbers.
You have the selections aware, like...
Yeah, so we have to, just let them know about that. But anyway, so yeah, that's what I'm trying to sort of get across. So maybe low you want to consider. Andy, your views here?
Well, you go in through the graveyard. You could be coming out through the graveyard at Redcar, couldn't you? It's not a race I really want. I obviously will get involved with John, although he's snaffled all the decent prices. I'll be scrambling around for the 33s on, or a little bit bigger on the machine. I noticed someone's just snaffled all the 21s there as well that was up there. Somebody's listed in. Like Lee, there's been about 1 or 2 meetings this year where you thought, high's got a chance here. But I do favour the low. I suppose you give Last Crusader a chance on his Gimcrack run. For those who like binary horses, Mott and the Messer must be the binary horse in this, because his form runs 0-1-0-1-0. Could it be another win? He's got the draw in stall 1. I think that's what people are playing a little bit on. Beyond that, I probably wouldn't play in the race. I mean, if you look in the front end of the market, Mott and the Messer, but as John said, we haven't heard an excuse for the rip and blowout last time out, but he is being backed. Last Crusade, you give a chance to. He's probably overpriced in his Gimcrack run. I think Vintage Claret's probably drawn a little bit too high. I'm not convinced about Chipotle or Chipotle anymore. It's had a few chances now, and like John, I should probably row in with Poetical Peace, as long as Duran is going to come towards or go towards the far side. And
he's read the script, Andy, don't worry.
Oh, right. It's like Duran can apply the knockout blow.
I got out Duran last night.
Absolutely. Yeah, so John and Andy, Poetical Peace. Obviously, John's been highlighting this for a bit. He's nicked the 66 as the bugger. Quentin, I take it you've nothing in this?
I looked at the race and my notes kind of consist of horrible race to unpick, high draw, hasn't been beneficial last few meetings. Pretty much everything you guys have covered. The notes also say there's probably one for everyone who's listening to Tracker, which is Poetical Peace. I felt he showed a lot on debut. He travelled well, got tired and blew up, showed a bit of greenness, but he went like a horse with ability. I actually backed him at Hamilton. When was Hamilton? Monday, and it got abandoned, which I was pretty pissed off with, to be honest. Because I think it was 11-2 then, and the meeting got abandoned and no bet. But no, he's one I would recommend for the Tracker.
Have you seen this, folks? Poetical Peace. It's Andy Richmond, Quentin Franks pinching John Lang's work.
Just pinching the 33s.
But John's not bothered because he's had the 66s and he's laying you guys off now at 20s on the machine. 46 points for nothing for John Joe. There's no flies on John Joe, and if they are, they're paying rent. Anyway, right, we're going to finish this first part of the podcast. We're going to move on to the second part of the podcast, which is obviously covering France on Saturday and France on the Sunday. So we hope you've enjoyed this. So if you want Sacre Bleu and Le Frog action, Vent, Wind, Il Pleu, it's hoining down, it's pissing down, Le Bog, that's coming up in a little while. So enjoy this, and we're back for the second part. Bye for now.